Hey everybody, it's Mike Venus, Lasso, and I'm back. And I want to talk about using the Akai Force as a sound modular and also as a sound designing tool, right? Now, let's get this out the way. The firmware I'm using is 3.2.3 firmware. I have not bought any of the Akai plugins that they taxing people for, so that is not on here. It's everything that they have released that's free. Okay, Mike does free. You should do free if you can. Okay, so you could be anybody who got the Force and got the latest firmware. You should be able to do the same thing with the effects as well. So why sound design? Okay, now the reason why let's talk about it real quick. The main reason why I like to get into sound design is because one, it's another skill that you can always learn, and it's fun. Two, it's like your thumbprint. It's yours. You know what I'm saying? It's a form of identification. You know, if I hear something, I'm like, damn, that sound like such and such. You know what I'm saying? If I hear the Trident, I think of the Neptunes. You know what I'm saying? If I hear the organ, that I'm thinking of Zaytoven. I'm not, you know, that ain't my best organ impression, but you know what I'm saying. Typically uses the same. He has a certain sound. You know what I'm saying, and that's good to identify. Also, as it's good to sound design because sometimes you might not have certain things, but if you can get close to it, the better. Or it's just to make something new, like how I sound design for my pedals sometimes. You know, I got a video on that. So what I'm doing, my wife got an MPC 2000 XL. It's the special edition, the orange one. It's really nice, but it's as basic as you can get. It has 32 megabytes of RAM, so that's the max, and that's about it. No 8-outs, no sound effects in here, so it's just a straight sampler sequencer. Cool. I got the Akai Force, so I'm like, okay, if I want to figure out how to use this thing, I got to put sounds in it. So that's why I said the Force, it can be also used as a sound modular. Also, with the effects that come in here and the different type of synths or plugins that they have provided, you can use it to be basically the starting point in the presets, a starting point to tweak and create your own sounds. You know, so I wanted to make something that sound kind of boom bapish. You know, that's typically what people would do with the MPC 2000 XL. And I said, why not? Now, first and foremost, with boom bap, most people sample from records. So they had that record sound of the vinyl and the crackle and the flutter and stuff. And the beautiful thing with the Akai Force and even with the MPCs, they have given us air flavor. I don't have the pro level. I just got the one that came, that's kind of like the sample, the little taste. You know what I'm saying? So let's go into it. So if you don't know that the older MPCs, we'll say outside of the 5000, all the other MPCs, the older ones, do not come with any sounds in it. They don't have any internal sounds, and it doesn't have any synth engines. Only the 5K has a synth engine off the bat, okay? And I think it comes with sounds. So this is a 2000 XL. Straight sampler, straight sequencer. It's empty. You gotta put your sounds in there, make your pattern, and then you track it out. So I only got the main outs, and I have the two inputs to sample either stereo or mono, left or right. So how did I do this? Okay, how I got this set up. First let's talk about MIDI. I got the MIDI coming out of the Force into the input A of the MPC, and the output A is coming into the inputs of, or the input of the force. So it's creating a loop, right? And then I have these two cables, they're not plugged in. I need to get me a mixer later on. These two cables are plugged into the inputs of the force, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a lot of sampling into the MPC, then sampling it back into the force, then sampling it back into the MPC type stuff, right? And then I have my main outs of my forces going into the inputs of the MPC, so I can sample into it, right? So let's get into sound design. So first thing first, I use the drum synth on here. Now I know with gas, you know, gear acquisition syndrome, you would think, okay, I need a drum machine. And I get like that because, you know, I be looking at the Roland stuff, like the TR8S or the TR6S, looking pretty tempting, you know, to have those Roland, you know, 808, 909 type sounds. But the force in the MPC, the drum synth in there is pretty good. So what I did, I went into it, and you have, I think, like 8, 9 synth engines in there. So I went to the natural sounds of the kick, the snare, and the closed hat. So this is the kick sound I got. Went to the hard preset, and then I tweaked it to the way I like, right? Sound design. Same thing with the snare. Tweaked it the way I liked it. And the hat. Right. So, what did I do? I made a pattern. Using the MIDI tracks on the force to trigger the sounds on the MPC. And this is what it sounds like. Now you might say, Mike, that ain't very impressive. Sounds pretty basic. Well, I'm taking the mindset as if I was sampling from record, and it's a break. Now a break is literally 1 to 2 bar loop of a drum groove, right? So this does serve a purpose, right? Because usually you have two options. You can either, if you're sampling from a record to get a drum break, you can either sample a bar or 2 bars of a standard groove and loop it, or you can do the same thing and then chop out the individual sounds to create your own pattern, but have those natural drum sounds but pulled from a record, so it still has that color of that, you know, the crackle and the distortion and the saturation and stuff, so it has that warm goodness that we love. Yes. So, you know, I made that basic ass drum pattern, sampled it into the MPC, right? Then I sampled it back out to the force. I don't know what's going on with the 3.2.3 firmware update, but now the looper isn't working. Okay, Akai, please fix that. You know what I'm saying? Just fix the firmware. You know, because this is another reason why I've been kind of doodling with the MPC more than the force, because the force is buggy right now. You know, anybody that got one now, you know, it's dealing with a lot of issues. I don't know if they just trying to, you know, I don't know what they're going to do with the force, but they need to improve the firmware, at least stabilize it before they, you know, either discontinue and make it a legacy product, or just move on to something else, or make another one. But at least make this one, before you leave it, make it right. You know what I'm saying? So my looper wasn't working because I was going to try to basically take those sounds and loop it in here, but it didn't work. So I had to sample it into the MPC, that loop, then sample it back into the force so I can create a 2-bar audio clip, right? Now, on this clip, turn the effects off so you can hear it. Right? So that's the loop, right? So then what I did, I started adding my effects to it. I started first with the Air Lo-Fi preset. And I set it to the sample rate of an MPC 60 or MPC 62, which is a 12-bit, I think it's 26 kilohertz. No, yeah. 12-bit rate, 26 point, I said it 26, sample rate. So it's make it a little bit more punchy. Now you might say, Mike, you could have used the MPC 60 or the SP 1200. You could have used that simulation and the vintage sampler thing to get that sound, but I like the Air Lo-Fi. I know a lot of people, they wasn't really fans of it, but if you really set your own parameters and really tweak it, you can get a lot out of it. I really like it. So first, that's the first effect I put on it, and then the second one is Air Flavor. So let's hear how it sounds again. That's to get the record saturation. Right? I used the preset radio tube and then I tweaked it. Added more distortion, some modify, and I add a lot of noise so it sound like a record. Right? Then the next thing I add was the amp simulate, which is pretty good. It's gonna make it punch. Now it's starting to sound like that boom bap stuff. Hell yeah. On that, I used the preset, start out with the preset drum loop 1, and then I tweaked it to make it mine. So it sounds punchy, like a record, right? And then the final effect I added on there was the air transient. Added a little saturation to it to make it punch. And then once I got it to my liking, I sampled it into the MPC, and then I chopped it up. I pulled each individual sound out to get this. That's the kick. That's the snare. That's the hat. Right? Awesome. So, let me get this. So, then I made this pattern. And then I add some swing, just a little bit, right, to give it that groove. And then also you will need is some type of melodic sound, right? So what I did was use another plugin in the Force. I used Selena, and I chose one of the presets and I tweaked it a little bit. And I added on the effects chain, I added the Air Lo-Fi, set it to the rate of the MP60, right? MPC 60, added the air flavor and also the air amp simp on there as well. Different presets on that one, tweaked them a little bit to create this. Oh, so you can hear what I'm playing. Right. So I played those chords and I separated them. So I made, a chord stab on 4 different clips. and then I sampled it into the MPC. Why? Because on the 2000 XL, it's very hard to chop samples, and um, it just makes it a little bit easier whenever you make your stabs. Now I got the chords set on the pads, but I got it on note off, which is similar to note on the Force. So I can have a little bit more control when I lay the pattern down, right? So let's hear what it sound like. There you go. So that boom bap sound beat, right, was generated from the synths that are inside the Force and also the effects that I used to process it to create those sounds that sound like I pulled it straight off of a record. You know what I'm saying? And that's the beauty of using something like the Force, because I know like everybody likes using presets and everybody likes speed and all that stuff, but it's good to slow down and really get like really, you know, immersed in the process of creating something besides just spitting out something super fast. Because I can do that. You know, that shit's easy. But it's not that easy to kind of sit down and really be intentional on what you're going for. So like, I wanted this boom bap beat. I want the punchy kick, the snap and snare. The hats is okay. Then I want it to sound like I pulled from a movie track. Now, the thing is, somebody might hear that and they might think, oh shit, where he pulled that sample from, or where did he get them drums from and stuff. I made them. So that boom bap beat that you just heard, it's not the greatest. You know, I wouldn't say it's the greatest, but it sounds like a boom bap beat. And you might say, well, maybe it's the MPC that's making it sound like that, is why it sounds like that. Nah, it's what I did. I showed you. I talked you through it and let you hear it, because I gotta have the camera there. And I know the shaky camera is not where it's at. I need to find a good stand so I can start giving you the Eagles perspective. But not right now. My desk is junky as fuck. I need to clean it. But you know what I'm saying. And yeah, so I got this beat that sounds like like off of a record, or it could have been something from back in the day. Right. And you know, I like this. I like the older MPCs. Just for the simplistic approach to it. Now you might say, well, Mike, what would you do? I will take that and then sample it back into the Force, and then once I sample it back into the Force, I'll put it on an audio track, and then I'll record it to the arranger. So if I wanted to track out without using a computer, just using these two devices, I can make a beat and record it straight to the arranger, bounce it down to a WAV file, put that out. You know what I'm saying? My laptop ain't even close to me. My laptop is downstairs. So, you know, this is truly standalone set. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of let y'all know what you can do if you got one of these. And that, you know, encourage people to get into sound design, because yeah, I could have easily went to a record store, bought some records, sampled them into the MPC, and chop it up and start making a beat. But I wanted to take on the challenge. Could I make a beat that's you know, make my sounds sound like I pulled them from record and then make a beat from it. And I did. So let me know what you think. And with that, I'm Mike Venus. La Soul. Till the next time, y'all be blessed and be safe. And I'll see you in the next video. Mike out.